Then you were lucky enough to become the display pilot on the GR5. How did this happen?
Yeah, right place, right time, really. At that time, you had a display pilot at Wittering who did all of the air shows in the UK, and then we had a display pilot in Germany that did the European shows. So it wasn't as extensive a display season. There weren't as many shows, but I went to some really interesting places.
Yeah,
the first display I did was at a place called Zeitenstetten in Austria, which was a grass strip that had a flying club, and they did a lot of gliding there, and they had this air show. And because I was the only jet there, we took 2 Harriers to Zeitenstetten and parked them right outside the clubhouse.
Wow.
in Austria, in the foothills of the Alps. And I was terrified. I was a flight lieutenant. I'd just been given control of these 2 brand new aeroplanes, and I'm parking them in a field in Austria. And I'm thinking, who's going to look after these? But we had impressed on them the fact that we needed to have them guarded, and they had supplied a platoon of Austrian troops with assault rifles to basically guard it 24 hours a day. So there was no problem there. But that was a great experience.
Yes. So how did you go about creating a display? Was it all up to you, or was there many pilots and other people involved?
Well, there's no point reinventing the wheel. People go to air shows to see the Harrier hover.
Yeah.
So the main part of the display is going to be VSTOL.
Yeah.
If you go to see an F-16, you want to see it in reheat, you want to see it doing loops. But if you just go to see a Harrier, you want to see it hovering, you want to see it nodding to the crowd, you want to see it doing a 360 and to go backwards.
Yeah.
So there's your show right there.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of massage that to make it your own.
Mm-hmm.
But you are coached by the previous display pilot or someone that's done the display. So I had my flight commander actually had a lot of experience displaying the GR3. And so, we talked about the display, tried a few things, put something together, and then it was just a case of practicing it.
Wow. And so where did you actually display? Because I think you've displayed all over Europe, haven't you?
Yeah, so I did that first one was at Zeitenstetten. I did one this was really interesting, in Rome.
Rome?
Yeah, like in Rome. There's an airfield in Rome called Urbe, and again, it's a private, it's a little, like a private flying airfield. It's got a short runway, and they invited us to display there. But it's quite built up, so I felt kind of bad when I was doing the show, because the airplane makes a lot of noise, as you know, and I was hovering very close to some houses, so I felt quite uncomfortable doing it. But what an amazing experience! A stone's throw from the Vatican,
This is Harrier
flying around in a Harrier. So that was good. I did one down in Salon in Provence. What were the other ones? I did quite a few in France. Oh, I did a lot in Belgium, Mosela, and some of those shows. Usually small grass airfields.
Mm-hmm. And was this a full-time role, or were you operational on the squadron as well?
Oh no, fully operational. This is part-time. It was a weekend thing. Mm-hmm. So I would go away on a Friday and be back either Sunday or Monday morning, and straight into my day job. So it was
So it must have been busy for you then.
It was busy, but I was single. No other commitments. I wasn't doing it every weekend. The guy at Wittering was away every weekend, and he was doing 2 or 3 displays a weekend.
Wow.
I was just going somewhere for the weekend. It was like a bit of a holiday.
Why not?
Yeah. Actually, I have just remembered one that I did do that was very interesting. The Czechoslovakian Air Force, as it was then, had an air show. And they invited us to it, and so we agreed, but they didn't have much money, so they could just about afford to pay for the fuel, but they had us barracks on the station, but we flew across the border. So we flew, and you've got to remember, this is the Soviet Union had only recently collapsed within a year before this. And the wall had come down, so we were going into no man's land. We were going across a border. We had very few maps, and we had no idea what the airspace was. And we flew across to a place called Zatek in northern Czechoslovakia, which is a MiG-29 squadron.
Oh right, yeah.
So I always took a spare aircraft, and on this occasion it was the station commander, that flew the spare, so I was taking him with me because it's quite a big event. And we landed at this MiG-29 squadron, and of course the Czechoslovakian Air Force has got great affinity with the RAF because they fought during the Second World War, in the Battle of Britain, and so they just welcomed us with open arms. And you know, fighter pilots are the same the world over.
Yeah.
So we were really looked after, and I did it. Then the show was very interesting because it was off the airfield at a relief landing ground that was basically another grass strip. But when I landed there were Hind helicopters, and there were all kinds of bits of Soviet kit that I'd only ever seen in photographs before, and now I was sitting in them. And in fact, I got flown in an Mi-8 helicopter, and we were flying over Soviet SAM sites and things that we'd only, like I said, only seen those in photos before. So it was quite an amazing experience, a great weekend.